This content is brought to you by Huawei.
They would wear that directly on the shoulders. We have a set of cameras that goes on the left of the shoulders. So we use 3 depth cameras that have a super wide field of view day and night. And so that's our way to detect obstacles up to 15 meters away from the end user. On the right of the chest, there is a small embedded computer and then the battery that sits behind the neck. Basically, it's a whole system that is trying to replicate what self-driving cars do, but at the pedestrian level. Okay, there's an obstacle coming, we detect it, we can track it, we can predict that there will be a risk of collision. And if so, then we decide to play a sound to warn the person.
In our next episode, we delve into the incredible world of Biped, a visionary startup founded by Maël. Biped is revolutionizing the lives of blind and visually impaired individuals by harnessing the power of AI. Join me, your host, Cedric Bullock, as we explore the innovative solutions offered by Biped, an AI-powered harness designed to help people move independently, navigate obstacles, and follow GPS instructions. Discover the inspiring journey of Biped as we delve into the story behind its creation and the transformative impact it's making for the blind and visually impaired community. Gain valuable insights into entrepreneurship, the integration of AI technology, and the significance of accessible mobility solutions. Join me as we venture into the uncharted territories of exploration and discovery. Enjoy the podcast. Very good. So, Maël, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time. And it's always exciting to meet new entrepreneurs who are on their journey. So, I first want to give you just the option to introduce yourself, who you are. And then I really want to deep dive into your company.
Sure. So thank you very much for having me. My name is Maël. I'm 26. I co-founded Biped about 2.5 years ago. I'm originally French, from the east side in Strasbourg, and moved to Switzerland about 15 years ago.
Okay, wow.
So to kind of finish high school and start studies. And I studied at the University of Lausanne before in economics, statistics, and then I moved to Paris for a bit and came back to do a PhD at EPFL. So yeah, that's about it.
So that's your journey. And then you came up with the idea of Biped. Tell us before we go into kind of what it is. Tell us how do you think about getting even started in this space?
A random encounter. It's really I was walking in Lausanne, and there is an ophthalmic hospital in Lausanne. So there are quite many blind and visually impaired people who go there. And I was walking the city center. I met a blind person who was struggling to cross the street. And he was doing actually a FaceTime call to a friend. And his friend on the other side was just helping him avoid obstacles, like traffic signs, low-hanging branches, or electric scooters. And I just figured out there has to be a better way. It's very kind of his friend to do that, but latency and whatever, not everybody has a FaceTime person on the other side to do that. And that was the trigger initially. So I contacted the ophthalmic hospital and started working on this.
Okay, very cool. So tell us a little bit about Biped. So we all understand kind of what the solution is, or maybe even start with the problem. What do people face when they are impaired or visually impaired?
What we were trying to build with Biped is an obstacle avoidance and a navigation device for blind and visually impaired people. So it's acting as a complement to white canes or to guide dogs. So if you're a white cane user and you're blind or visually impaired, basically it's going to scan obstacles on the floor, but it's going to leave your whole upper body exposed to obstacles. And so you can always have, I think the stat is about 25% of blind and visually impaired people have at least one head injury a month, which is insane when you think about it, because it's the technology of a white cane is essentially just a stick, right? It's scanning the floor. It gives tactile feedback. So they use that to signal they're blind or visually impaired, but they also use that to kind of know what is the change of level on the ground, but it just doesn't scan what's higher up from the waist up. And city centers are becoming more and more challenging as some obstacles are just not static, but they're moving very fast. And think about electric scooters, bicycles, or electric cars, because they don't produce sounds. And so blind people cannot really hear them coming. And so it's this is becoming an increasing challenge, I would say. And finally, if you want to follow a navigation path by yourself, just follow Google Maps. Probably all tried that, and at some point you're confused because you're like, okay, it tells me to turn right in 50 meters, but like which street exactly, and where do I cross and when? So we're trying to answer all of that in a holistic way, trying to say we do obstacle avoidance. We can detect fast incoming obstacles, so we warn the person right in time, and we provide accurate GPS information to the end user via an audio feedback. So whenever something's coming closer, the person actually wears the harness on the shoulders, and whenever the obstacle's coming closer, the person just hears beep, 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 beep in headphones, just like the parking assist of a car. So the training is very short in that sense. And for whatever GPS we use, we actually can just provide speech feedback for that.
Interesting. So tell me, I see this. It's very interesting. It looks to me 3D printed. Tell me if it's wrong.
Yeah, it is.
But explain to me a little bit, like, what do I see here? Like, what do like these people wear?
So they would wear that directly on the shoulders. We have a set of cameras that goes on the left of the shoulders. So we use 3 depth cameras that have a super wide field of view day and night. And so that's our way to detect obstacles up to 15 meters away from the end user day and night. And there's on the right of the chest, there is a small embedded computer, and then the battery that sits behind the neck. And so basically it's a whole system that is trying to replicate what self-driving cars do, but at a pedestrian level. And this is how we think about Biped, and most of the architecture that we're building is essentially saying, okay, there's an obstacle coming, we detect it, we can track it, we can predict that there will be a risk of collision. And if so, then we decide to play a sound to warn the person.
I mean, like, what kind of like technology is in there? Like, so you have a lot of cameras, I guess. You have the 3D technology of 3D printing. Then
so it's a lot of computer vision. Basically, we want to understand the environment around the person. We want to know what the floor is, what the ceilings are, because when you are indoor, the floor and ceilings are not obstacles. So you want to remove them from potential obstacles. We want to understand holes and drop-offs like staircases going down, because these are very dangerous for blind people. We have an object detection system running also. So we can detect what is a car, what is a electric scooter. We can track it over time. So we have to do it very fast. And then we have models where we partnered with Honda, for example, because they have a good understanding of trajectories, because they collect lots of data from their cars. And so we plug in their trajectory estimation models. For example, some of them are using machine learning, other are using deep learning. But the idea is it's a whole bunch of technologies that are all in the field of applied computer vision, and that all together form a system that is very close to a self-driving car.
Sure. Tell me, I'm sure that, I don't know, is it commercial already available? Like, can people buy it already?
Yeah, we started commercializing this about 6 months ago.
Okay.
Still the early days, of the release. We wanted to launch very early, but we dispatched already 3 batches of this kind. Yeah.
So I'm sure some interesting stories already. Like, did some of your clients call up and say, they were avoiding some big pothole?
So the cool thing is, so most of the feedback we get is actually that what they enjoy the most is the moments of silence. So whenever we don't generate a sound, it really means that, that's
they can walk.
They can walk freely. So there is nothing that has a direct risk of collision. And I think that's the kind of a shift we had to do, is maximize the sequences where there are no sounds being played. So we want to be very precise. And if there's a pedestrian coming in front of you, you probably just want to make sure that the pedestrian saw you and, is going to stay on the side and not hit your shoulders. So you got to be very precise when you do this assessment, but that's really something people enjoy a lot. And otherwise what's cool is that we can record data remotely. So there is like a data sharing program on a smartphone app that people can use with VoiceOver, and basically they can record data in the streets. We're in there like in open area that is not too crowded, and then we can receive the data and we can see the obstacles they encounter and how they avoid them. So that's cool, because sometimes you have someone in France or someone in the Netherlands that shares a sequence, and then you can see oh look, he avoided these obstacles, these obstacles that way.
Very good. So tell me, when did you start a company, and maybe some of your fundraising history?
So we started the company in, the initial idea was in summer 2020. I did a hackathon and met my co-founder at this time. He went full-time starting January 2021. Okay. And that's the moment we incorporated the company. First year we were just self-funded, did a bit of consulting and this kind of things just to bring some cash in the company. And by the end of 2021, we raised 600,000 in pre-seed that allowed us to basically run until sort of now. And
we need money.
And so we're just going to announce our seed round very, very soon.
Okay, very cool. So who invested in the first round?
That was so VentureKick was a big contributor, I think, as many startups you've probably received here. And we had Serpentine VC, and then we had two business angels.
Two business angels. Okay. And how is Serpentine? Are they around?
They're around, so they're reinvesting in this round. So that's
good.
That's cool. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So tell me about your team. I mean, like you mentioned, you have a co-founder. So where are you in this space? Like, are you coming from the computer vision, or are you more a business background?
So my co-founder is computer vision engineer.
Yes.
So he's from Germany, from RWTH Aachen, and he loved mountains, and at some point, like, we had the choice of, like, do we go to Germany or do we go to Switzerland? And it was like, oh, fuck it, I'll go to Switzerland. Too many mountains there. So he took the lead on the technical development. He's CTO of the company now, and given the fact that I studied economics, I took the role of CEO. I like it that way. Like it works well between us, and we are now 5 full-time and 2 interns that are working with us.
Wow. Have you met Markus Gross? He's also been part of the show many years ago.
Don't think so.
He's a head of Walt Disney, and he works for computer vision at ETH.
Oh yeah.
You heard of him, or?
I heard of the
very good guy. If you get a hold of him, it's very hard to reach him. He's a very nice guy. Once you get a hold of him, cool. Highly recommended. Tell me, so how did you at some point validate that this is an actual need from the visually impaired? Have you made any tests where you say, like, yeah, people are willing? I mean, thank God, like, I'm like not that visually impaired that I need something like this. I still have contacts, but I'm not sure if I would wear something like this.
So it's definitely one of the things that came up early in the discussion is we started meeting lots of blind people, but also lots of visually impaired people, and the spectrum of visual impairment is actually very broad, going from I can't see anything to I can, like, see shapes and sources of light, to I have a hard time reading and recognizing faces, but the rest is okay for mobility. And we focused on the most extreme end of the visual impairment spectrum, meaning people who basically barely see anything and cannot really walk independently. There was a conscious decision because we also wanted to not invest too much in the hardware. Like, none of us is a hardware engineer, so, like, building hardware by itself was just a support for running our software. And in terms of form factor, what we wanted to keep was something that would be not clipped to the cane itself, because then it usually makes the cane rather heavy. But wearing it on the shoulders, this is about 900 grams. Wearing it on the shoulder is always a way to kind of cut the perceived weight of it. And so as we started prototyping, we noticed that, okay, shoulder is a good place to wear this kind of device. If we want to really collect lots of data on the whole environment and then perceive that something's coming from the left, we're going to need a big field of view. And so that's the moment we started integrating 3 cameras, and then we 3D printed a couple of prototypes, tested it with blind vision impaired people, so that somehow vision impaired people were a bit out of the equation for now, because it's a bit too big. And so we wanted to focus on blind people first. And then I think the one thing is, at some point we had the question internally: do we want to target replacing a white cane or just being a complement? And somehow we ran like 1 or 2 tests, because we can really go quite precise in terms of obstacle avoidance, like 2-3 centimeters in theory, should be enough to detect a small hole in the ground or this kind of things. But the two major problems that arise were, one, it's generating way too many sounds, and two, if you have a bicycle coming and you're wearing this, but you don't have a white cane or anything to signal that you're visually impaired, basically the bicycle is going to be pissed that you're not moving on the side. And that's something that happened in practice. So that's how we focused on this form factor and mostly on the on blind people.
Sure. I mean, like it's all about like, at some point it's going to be about like scaling and getting this as big as possible. What is kind of like your dream if you're thinking of like how big this company can actually get, if let's say when everything will work out, not if.
So what we are currently working on is an alternative version to this one that will be a lot more compact and answer a lot of other use cases, but using this as kind of a flagship device to show that we can solve the hardest case first. And in terms of strategy, we just thought, let's work with blind people first. Let's roll out keep the hardware cost rather low, but let's roll out the kind of most advanced software we can run. And then we build a smaller hardware that can actually run a bit lighter version of our software and solve other use cases. So for visually impaired people, of course, but maybe detecting obstacles for elderly people who walk in the streets, or for kids, or for construction safety, like construction workers, by clipping the cameras, for example, behind them, or you could do something for bicycles. So basically like kind of shifting to making Biped a GoPro, but with obstacle avoidance built in. And
so I could wear this, and if I'm worried that someone is going to attack me from behind,
it's yeah. I mean, the two segments we're seeing is, on one end, it's sensory substitution. Like if you have some kind of impairment, can we substitute vision or attention deficit or these kind of things by putting the camera in front of you? Or if you want to expand the field of view of the person, can we clip the camera behind?
Right.
And like we think field of view extension is going to be something in the mobility, of course, construction sites, and industrial applications also.
Sure. I mean, like you're telling me now all kinds of like different use cases, which I fully get. But my question was, how big can it get? Like, what's your envisioning? Like, you're envisioning a company with like 200 employees. You're envisioning a company that has like, I don't know, stores around the world. Do you want to sell the company in a year to some car manufacturer? I don't know.
I think this is we'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah, for sure. No one knows.
But I think there's, for us, a chance to place Biped as a good potential integration inside of a bigger team of either self-driving car manufacturers or a robotics company looking to develop its branch, or we have active collaborations with car manufacturers at the software level. Can we push that a bit further? I definitely like the size of 6 to 10 people so far. I'm probably going to change quite a bit, but with the plans we have, we should be around 20 by end of 2024. We'll see if how that goes. But I would love to see Biped integrated in a product range of people who currently do other stuff, either bicycle manufacturers or safety equipment manufacturers or self-driving car manufacturers, and try to sell the company to some of these guys and really push the production at a big scale in a trade sale.
And you're saying, like, let's say it's a trade sale, like who are this type of companies? Can you mention a few like that would potentially buy something like this? Like Tesla, would Tesla buy one like company like this?
I think Tesla is quite advanced in terms of what they're doing, but probably someone trying to catch up behind behind Tesla. I could definitely see. We have one partnership with Honda. Why not try to see if we can push this a bit further with similar car manufacturers that have a product line on cars. But cars are somehow like gradually getting banned out of city centers, and especially regulation-wise, like by Horizon 2030, you can imagine that. So, bicycles and electric scooters and whatever are sort of the future of city mobility, and they're collecting data and deploying software for cars, but they are going to have to stay out of the city. So, I think we have probably a momentum kind of application that we could leverage and see some of these guys be interested.
Interesting. Tell me what kind of like KPIs and metrics are you looking at your team? Like when you're saying like, look, this is our North Star. Do you want to sell? Do you want to R&D? What is it kind of like where you say like in the next 6 to 12 months, that's what you want to focus on?
The hard bit for us is that we are still actively doing research at this stage, but we went commercial very early just to also show that we can get traction. So of course we have the number of active users that we were looking at, the number of the time, the cumulative time that people use the device in a single week. So we want to just make sure that this is a sticky product on one end. And on the other, we have a whole benchmarking system internally from like a very technical software standpoint on how fast the system runs and what is the percentage of obstacles that it detects and how far and these kind of things. So we have a roadmap both on the stickiness of the product and then really finding our product market fit, and on the other, on keep pushing the research. And sometimes like you just want to answer, you're like, okay, if we add this feature, we're going to improve the stickiness of the product, but at the same time you slow down the whole pipeline, and so you kind of ruin the R&D effort that are being done. So I think as a company, there was really a shift in the last 6 months of going commercial that way. Plus it added looks like some time dedicated to support in the company, which used not to be the case. So it used to be just in our lab, chill and deliver our software, and now it got real.
But tell me, like the data, I mean, like you're generating a lot of data, I assume, like by people walking around. I mean, I can see also maybe, instead of Google Street View, they have like people walking around with these type of things. Is it data? Can you commercialize the data somehow?
It's interesting that you mentioned this. We are trying to leverage the data by selling this to GPS, like GPS navigation providers. So the idea is that we have a very pedestrian-centric view, so we can also kind of enrich the understanding, just not from because sometimes the advanced GPS systems will use satellite images to know where the crosswalk is or these kind of things. We can actually go deeper than that, and we can know what is the like, is it hilly, or is there a ramp or staircases or these kind of things. So I think that could start making sense after a bit, and so we are trying to sell some of the sample data that we collect ourselves for now in Lausanne to a GPS provider, and we'll see where that can go. But I think that there is something interesting, right? If you're using a bicycle, sometimes Google Maps is not as precise as it should, and then there is always this path that doesn't really look like like this road cycling path that you could take, and that's something with the camera feed that we can definitely detect.
Yes, for sure. So I want to talk a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yep.
Tell me, like, from a very young age, did you always want to do your own company, or like was that part of the randomness of the idea?
No, it's so Biped is actually my second startup.
Okay.
My first one was, I would say, not as serious as this as a venture, right? It was more of a but I had a company. I incorporated the first company when I was 19, so I was in my bachelor's at the time, and we wanted to do with my there was another co-founder, but we wanted to do van rental platform. So if you wanted like to, the concept was a bit more advanced. Like, right, if you wanted to buy a van or a motorhome, we wanted to put you in contact with people who wanted to rent one. And so in a bit of a we make it or Kickstarter fashion, you'd say, okay, I'm missing 5K to buy a van. And on the other hand, we'd find 5 people who would pledge 1K just to get 1 week of rental on your thing, and then give you the 5K so that you could buy your van. And that was like, the platform economy. That was very interesting to build that. We did all the possible mistakes along the way. And
everything.
and shut it down at the end of my master's. But ran for 3 years, generated a bit of money, but never returned really our initial investment. And but that was that stuck with me for quite a bit, and then there was more freelance stuff. So as I finished my master's and moved to Paris and went on to do a second one, and I just funded the whole part of my life in Paris just by doing freelance stuff along the way. So
I mean, it's crazy what you can do these days and how you can make money. I mean, I'm baffled every time I see like what people are offering on Upwork and Fiverr and whatnot. So tell me, outside of your company, any hobbies or sports you do on a regular basis?
Triathlon. I actually had the
Wow.
Geneva Triathlon this weekend.
Wow.
I'm still bad
You're
at
sitting
it.
here like nothing happened. Wow.
Yeah, my legs still hurt.
Then you're good if it's just the legs. What was the distance you did?
It's the 70.3 miles. So it's the half Ironman format.
So you talking kilometers.
So you swim 1.9 kilometers and then you ride on your bicycle 90 kilometers and then you run a half marathon.
Wow.
So yeah, it's like exactly half of the Ironman distance.
Yes.
So goal for 2024 would be to kind of get ready to do an Ironman, but I'm still at the very beginning of that. So I still suck at the whole performance. It's I'm still in the below average, but improving that.
It's I started getting ready for a full marathon, so I want to run one by the end. I know it's a no-go to ask for your time, because that's everybody has their own, but the question is if we're able to reach your goals and keep the pace that you wanted. So that's
I wanted to do it in 6 hours and a half or below. I did it in 6 hours and 16 minutes. And so I'm like, okay, I see how I can drop an extra 30 minutes if I train more. So it just requires a very regular training schedule, which is, I think, something that I really enjoy somehow is if you have I've already subscribed for the next one, but it's just, I like to have a 3, 4, 5 month horizon where I have a deadline and then I have to commit to training. Otherwise it's so easy to just skip the training.
For sure.
And then as it's just this vicious circle. As you don't train, you don't feel well, and then you stay too much at work, and then things go bad. So I really enjoy having this time off to dedicate to training on this.
But tell me how you do it. You have it in your schedule, like practically speaking, like, or you go every morning from 6 hours. That's a long time. Even if you train all 3 disciplines once a week, I mean.
Yeah, so I would do once or twice a weekend. I would do a long ride. So trying to do 70, 80 kilometers on the bike. So I would usually live for about 2-3 hours on the bike. My girlfriend's doing it with me, so it helps a lot, really.
Yeah, for sure.
And then otherwise I would sneak in 2 to 3 trainings throughout the week. So usually train once swimming, once running, and then maybe some kind of fitness training or this kind of things. I'm not really training a lot compared with what I should to get there, because many people train like crazy. But it's at least the balance that I managed to find on my end.
Right. Very cool. So tell me, I like to talk about also like values of the company. So for example, at our company, like obviously like we want to get ahead, we want to make money, but whenever there is like something involved with family or health, like it always takes priority. Where do you stand? Like what do you say? Like are your higher values that you would say like go beyond anything of the company?
I mean, definitely health is going to be a big one. We can definitely see, I mean, we saw that with my co-founder, that over time it can get we took it as a sprint, classic mistake again, but like we really took it as a sprint and tried to sneak in as many hours as we could, and found out that it is very mentally challenging over time to maintain that, and the workload that you can sustain in the long run on a single topic is limited. So kind of live with that, and so now we're taking it tiny bit more relaxed, but in a sustainable way for us. So that's one thing that always comes on top. Very nature focused for both my co-founder and I. So we try to respect like the time off on the side. I mean, otherwise, I think as a company, we try to provide good working conditions for everybody. That also means that if people want to work from like a specific place or see family, there's been some family issues also for some of the employees. That always comes first. That's I think it's basic, but it's
hard.
Whenever it happens, you just gotta live with it and
I think it's easy day to day, but the moment like you have clashes, like a very important client is coming and then they also have like health issues. I think that's when it gets tough, and like that's when it's really helpful to have this moral compass to know, okay, like this is actually our value, and we believe that like it will be fine also.
Yeah.
When we stick to that. But it's interesting, you know, like this whole idea of like having like this idea that like, okay, like we put this first. So as you said, like it was a sprint and not a marathon. For me, it was sometimes when you have like this, let's say you work 4 hours in a day, which is obviously you still have 20 left, and you say like, okay, what the heck, like I should be working like 12 because that's the hustle thing you see online. But then like very often, like especially in the last few months, I realized, okay, like if I work the 80-20, like I get 80% of the work done in 20% of the time, and then I just spend 2 hours with the family, and that sometimes, you know, feels very good, but nevertheless in my mind it's always like, oh, I feel guilty that I'm not working.
Yeah.
Do you also have that?
I used to have that.
Yes.
But my girlfriend was actually finishing her studies, her PhD, and she was working mostly from home. And I actually, without really realizing that, I took advantage of that and, you know, stayed late at night in the office and this kind of things. And then as she started, she's now a gynecologist. She has terrible time schedules, and
sure.
I gotta be the one at home like planning the stuff, and you know otherwise it won't happen. And so I'm like, for now it actually helps a lot more on my end to take this commitment, because she was there for me in the first like 2 years of the beginning of the company. So now she started this new job, so I got to be there also for
Babies
her.
are coming whenever they come.
Yeah, it's like don't get me started on this topic, but no, but it's really I think that there's that commitment helped a lot. And whenever I have then time off, I'm like actually doing stuff for us, and I think either training, but we usually train together, or doing stuff for us, and I think that helps kind of removing this feeling of you know, I don't really feel guilty anymore.
Yes.
But I definitely see what you mean talking about this.
I mean, the pinnacle of my guilt was I think 2 days ago when I was walking on the Bahnhofstrasse in Zurich with our 3 kids. In the middle of the day, all of a sudden bumping into one of our investors. And then he didn't see me, so I could have just not say hello to him.
Yeah.
So, but I decided that like, if I cannot say hello to my investor when I'm hanging out with my kids, then there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And probably not on his side, more on my side, that like I don't feel comfortable enough. But that was definitely like an interesting situation, you know, like me strolling with the 3 kids in the middle of the day while you know, and some obviously also get a salary paid by the company that like they financed. So tell me, in terms of personal growth, I'm always curious to see, because like what happens to me once in a while is like, okay, you get so soaked up in all of the work, you forget to like kind of like continue developing yourself. How do you make sure that like, you know, that, you know, keep getting influenced by let's say inspiration that like helps the company?
Yeah, I feel like founders upskilling is also something that is somehow neglected. It's super hard to find the time to actually do it, because you're always under the rush of the, you know, daily work.
Another email, another.
Yeah, and I feel like being the only one that doesn't do software in the company basically right now, I sort of had to give up on like actually programming or doing software, which I was okay, like just delaying to smarter people than me, but just focusing on the rest. I had a whole bunch of stuff to learn. I took it from the angle of usually I don't really refrain myself from doing any kind of personal investment in terms of just skills I want to acquire, or finding good mentors who can help, or joining lots of like incubation programs or these kind of things, even though they might seem, if you accumulate them too much, like a loss of time, but it's actually connect you with the right people, like brand strategists and people in like specialized in communication and marketing, that all started to be useful for the company at some point. And so we actually took benefits of some of the programs we joined, and we were like, okay, we don't have a general topic. We don't want to talk about the whole company strategy. I just want to learn about communication and how you do it. And like, for example, social media stuff, we hired like a freelancer for a bit. I worked with her. She was not cheap, but she taught me most of the stuff that I wanted to learn along the way, you know, like creating a personal brand and doing these kind of things. And so try to see that as an investment, either sometimes on just like the personal fundings or sometimes on the company fundings, depending on the key target. And I think now we have a pool of because Bruno, my CTO, is doing that also for the software team. So we try to surround ourselves with people who can actually just hop on calls like very quickly and answer some of our questions from the technical or research standpoint. That also helps. But it's always a bit more punctual and not really dedicated time to improve this stuff. Have a friend who's doing theater, for example, and he's doing like his impro classes, and he's, for example, using that also as a good way to pitch the company better and to be more at ease when it comes to public speaking and this kind of thing. So I feel like that can also be a side hustle that
For sure.
Can help in the day-to-day life.
Sure. I mean, playing a theater as a founder is probably not a bad skill to a certain degree, without saying this. Like, I mean, like I'm saying this on the record, but like, I think it's probably not bad to sometimes be able to show your enthusiasm, even if you're like really not in the zone.
Yeah.
Tell me, I want to wrap this up with some favorites. Any favorite books, podcasts, or resources you can recommend to other founders, or that like really left you inspired recently?
I am listening quite a bit to the 20 VC podcast. So
Harry Stebbings is a legend.
I think it's I like listening to podcasts overall, but I think this one's is like sticks with me quite a bit. Otherwise, in terms of books, I'm not an avid reader. I hang out on Medium and kind of personal blogs quite a bit, but I read more like dense content from founders. And on Twitter, I do have quite a bit of I feel like Twitter is also a good way to gain knowledge from fellow founders. So there are some guys like founders of Gumroad, for example, that I feel are like pretty interesting to follow. But yeah, that would be.
Do you think Twitter got better since Elon Musk took over?
It's a tough topic. I feel like it's the thing is, like, I don't know if you've tried Threads.
No.
But since Musk took over Twitter, I felt like it got funnier. That's for sure. A bit more polarized. So I for the quality of the content that I follow, I think it didn't change too much. But whenever I see sometimes, you have these things that are not in a direct follow list that pop up, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is very polarized, and you see this, far right posts coming up and like people going crazy in the comments, and that's the kind of things that are starting to be seen more and more, because they just used to be banned content before. So I'm not a huge fan of the direction it took, but I follow a lot of indie founders, for example, who are just building small SaaS, and they just really enjoy the journey and the hassle of the first few days to gain your first customers and grow your monthly recurring revenue. And I feel like for that content, it's just perfect. That didn't change too much, hopefully,
right.
But
right.
But yeah.
Right. It's going to be interesting. I mean, he always says like the data is amazing and active users is great. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, they also limited the amount of Twitter posts that you can see.
But I never watch.
Right?
I never read more than 600.
No, I never had the case before, but I know people who got impacted by that. So
really. I don't know. We'll see. I think he's a great inspiration. Obviously not uncontroversial, but I think you cannot be uncontroversial at that level. So
yeah.
Anyhow, so thank you very much. It's been a big pleasure. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I wish you a lot of success with your company.
Thank you very much. Thanks again.